We are operating on a frequency of 52 megacycles by authority of the Federal Communications Commission. A test program follows. To you who've been trained technically, I need hardly say that there's still a number of problems to solve. I guess you know them as well as anybody knows them. But I think we've proceeded far enough to justify the statement, at least, that these technical problems are not insurmountable.
This is Hey, that's Dr. Bones, my son's skeleton. That's my son's toy skeleton, not my son's skeleton. My son's toy skeleton, not my son's skeleton. Commas are important. Commas are important. No, but lots of home drama, lots of Bill drama, and lots of KOTE drama, but we'll get into that a little bit later on. No. Clearly you cheated. You were like, yo, if you don't let me win, you're out. You don't get to play ever again. Yeah. And not only that, every member of our team won in that match. Every member of our team won in that match. Because... yeah. I just watched I'm watching the stream and I watched a result go by, and I kindly asked you not to be on there. Now they're going to be looking for it. Yes. Exactly. well, KOTE's Keyforge RPG. So we've partnered with Gamers versus Cancer, and we're basically going to try and organize a online RPG quest where people in the community can join up, create a character, and then jump into this game and just but if you don't know how to create a character but want to take part, let us know. We can all learn together. I literally got this book today, so I'm going to be learning as well. Basically, we want players. There is an option on the Eventbrite for people to have their Archon be a member, which means that they can work with me to make one of their decks into an encountable character for good or for bad. And during the stream, we're going to be having donation encounters where if you want to just mess with the party, you can donate some money and we'll have a encounter go after the party. The more you donate, the harder the encounter will be. So if you just like to mess with people playing an RPG, come in, donate some money, and get them killed. Pretty much. Yes. I was going to start it earlier, but I realised my son's not in nursery, so it'll be from 6 PM GMT until either the quest's done or I crash. Well, no, because Thursday's the 24th. Yeah, I could do a 48-hour stream. That seems fine. Hey, there goes ours. Woo! And you might notice that yeah. And as regular viewers will see, my camera quality is because I'm currently using my phone as a camera. Yes, so a big shout out to Dan, who's currently streaming the Ludicrous Sealed event, so might not be here, for joining us on Patreon. So Patreon is a great way to support us. It lets us get money towards giveaways, towards paying our artists, our editors, whatnot. And you also get access to, you don't get access to anything that will impact the game, but you will get access to information early. So we're currently working on KOTE 8, and I have already dropped a screenshot that gives away quite a bit of information on there, and they can see you taking the Baileys on the stream. Yes, they can. They literally can. And we can fully see the Overwatch game, so we can see her suck at Overwatch on stream. Yeah, there she is. And there is in Patreon has its own reward system in there, so there is posters, stickers, mugs, all sorts that you can get just by signing up on Patreon. And you will get access to information early, as well as behind the scenes stuff, and just little bits of extras that you can see as to what we're doing in the background. It's not a modify. It's more of a conduct clarification. Yeah. I think you're muted. No, you're muted.
Oh yeah, I am. Awesome. Sorry, guys.
Thank you, Key4 Ecuador, for pointing that out.
So the question is, how long have we been muted?
No, you were muted. I wasn't.
How long have I been muted?
Pass. Just start. I'd probably start from after the. Just go basically going again after I said it's a conduct revision.
Okay, so the last piece of news, which is not something that I want to go into really too much detail, is we come to a conduct revision because a number of teams that are insulting each other. Oh, hi, Josie. Glad to hear that your COVID test was negative. So we've had a couple of situations in the events. One time this round, we have a situation where one team took something completely inappropriate. We handled it. We spoke to the captain. The captain chastised his teammate, and they were given an official warning. Since then, we've had two teams who were being very passionate, stressing out because the last game wasn't played, lots of back and forth, and both teams said things that were inappropriate. Now, we can say one was worse than the other. That's irrelevant. Both were inappropriate. Both of these teams are getting them a warning. This case is still ongoing. I expect to have it closed off tomorrow morning, but we are just waiting for basically one of them to come back to me say they've got no issue, they're not challenging my decision. And I do allow people to challenge me. If you disagree with me, you come to me, we take it to the mods will have the final say. But in short, if you get a warning, we continue. If you get a second warning, then we look at all the evidence for what's happened, we look at your conduct, we discuss it and the mods will then vote on what we should do, if we should disqualify you, if we should just make a other firm punishment. But at the moment, we haven't had to go through that process, so we've not documented it. This is all going to be added to the rule sheet over the next couple of days, as Brett reminds me every day until I've done it. But the key thing here is this is an inclusive event. We aim to be open, we aim to be friendly. If someone says something insulting, let us know. If I say something insulting, tell me off. If you don't want to tell me directly, talk to Brett, talk to the mods. Your
opponents, your admins, and the other members of the community should be respectful to you. If you feel that you are not being respected, please do contact us, and we'll take appropriate measures to look into it.
Yeah, that's it exactly.
Whether it's an admin, another player, or anyone in the Discord or the Facebook, if you feel that during the event you are not being respected like you should be, please do not hesitate to let us know.
Great, and okay, then with that, we're going to move on here to the metrics. So, once again, thank you to Liptops from Baguette and Chips for giving us some awesome data to go through here. Now, this data is very deep. This data is really impressive what he's managed to turn around a week. And he says, guess what we're going to talk about today? This background wasn't chosen by random. We are talking about your teams. So this week, it's not just about the cards, it's about the whole team. But
I don't see any red shirts in that party. What happened?
They're already dead.
Oh.
But Saz has changed. Now the average has only changed slightly from 7.8 to 4 to 17.8.4 to 79.4. So it's not a massive change, and it's mainly due to how they changed the meta scoring. But an ARC and all that hasn't changed that much, but it has been a change. So we just wanted to say, if all the numbers we had there were the latest SAS scores, not the previous SAS scores. So if you compare this to what we said last week, you may notice there are some differences.
Put a little asterisk next to it.
Yeah, probably lots of asterisks. The good, the bad, and the ugly. So, I don't know where to start with this one. So, he's gone for which the highest raw amber and which the team with the lowest raw amber. And this is combining all the decks together, I believe. So, section 1 is best and worst teams on average metrics. So, here we've got Jabbergrammer have the highest raw amber. Hypno Key Frauds, who we played last week, have the lowest raw amber. And given the deck I saw, I think this is actually average, not total. Which makes sense. Olgar have the most actions, which is not something I'm too surprised by in their style of play. But I am surprised Hypno Key Frauds have the smallest amount of actions. I mean, this is a significant change.
But if you take, we gotta think this is the average over the team. Yeah. So if you look at their creatures, to have 21.6, they must have all brought very creature-heavy decks.
So for the average to be 21, definitely. And Handbag Atlantis 3 are only on 14.2. Upgrades and artifacts. The artifacts I find the most interesting, because I fully expected to see a team out there with 0 artifacts on average, or less than 1 average artifact. But this would mean that every deck has at least 1 artifact.
It would be very, yeah, it'd be very unwise for a team to bring 5 decks with 0 artifacts. It'd be very hard to find 5 high-end decks that have 0 artifacts.
Yeah, actually, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. So now the individual strongest decks. So SCS Sharks have the strongest raw amber deck with 24 pips. 24 pips on 36 cards. I mean, that's amazing.
Well,
and the strongest deck and the lowest team is 12 amber pips, which is, I think, will be a little lower than I would say the good. But that's
I've got to say that's probably again just average.
Yeah.
Oh no! Imagine this. This is decks. Yeah.
How many at most do each teams have in their deck for each category?
That's nuts to think that. Well, I know there's some pretty decent decks that actually can go below 10 raw amber, so that's not too bad.
So that's the strongest deck belonging to the team with the lowest average.
Oh, so the lowest artifacts in a deck is Team Auto Encoder with 2.
Yeah.
Huh.
No. The team with the lowest, I don't know. Sorry, we didn't actually read this before. I'm not just making this.
Yeah, so if you look at the I was just looking at, if you look at the artifacts, Final Swindle Omega have brought 8, and
the strongest
Team Auto Encoder brought 2.
Team Auto Encoder, their strongest deck has 2. So we say Session Sharks are the best deck on Raw Ammo 24, while Manchester Mavericks A only have 12 clicks at their best deck. So, okay, the right-hand column is the team with their strongest deck is the weakest strongest deck.
Oh, so the one that's got the highest SAS within their team, how many pips it's got?
Well, no, the highest number of pips in their team, so try to put this together.
How does one determine what their strongest deck is?
This is what I'm trying to work out. I think we need to go back.
Let's move on, and we'll get and switch to clarify that a little bit, because strongest deck is a little bit weird.
Yeah. So here we are now comparing average scores of all KOTE teams. This table shows the best and worst team according to SAS metrics. So, okay, this one is also organised by SAS at the top. So we have the Team Smith SAS, unsurprisingly, have the highest SAS average. The lowest SAS average is Kluchki on 68.8, which is pretty low for an average.
So the two teams from SAS have the highest SAS rating and ARC rating.
Yes. It's like they knew the rating system.
Just gonna. There we go. That's better.
And hit the key.
Chris can't see the chat, so I'm just gonna put that in.
The synergy-wise, Manchester Mavericks A have highest synergy, and New York City have the lowest. Now that's not too surprising for how Manchester Mavericks A play. anti-synergy. I'll just completely ignore for the time being. The other stuff here, amber control. Yes, everyone has at least a 7.3 in amber control. The Keyforge Squad have a high one, which doesn't surprise me. Spectre Amber is very high from Beerforge, but again, very low from Hypno Keyforge. But as we saw, Hypno Keyforge have a very creature-heavy deck.
Ooh.
But they don't have the. So the creature protection is codes is significantly higher than the ABR Trooper Calls on 0.5. But anything else you want to pull off here? Repout has a very high efficiency. Not surprising.
Team Zenzik with the 0 artifact control is very bold.
Very interesting.
Yeah. It's also interesting to see where they are in the tables compared to what we can see here. So, for example, we were talking about earlier, we were quite surprised to see that Repout were mid of the disc table when we had high hopes of looking at the strength of their decks.
Yeah.
And you see there they've got the most efficient deck that's been brought, and it'd be quite interesting to take away these results and see how it's actually impacted their groups.
It's going to be interesting to see. Ratings of the strongest decks. So before it was the average decks, this is now the strongest decks from each team being put next to each other. So
I'm going to put a little asterisk next to the strongest deck.
the highest SAS deck in the team's deck pool. The best column shows the highest rating of a team's best deck, and the worst column shows the lowest rating of the team's best deck. So here we can see Team SAS surprisingly had the highest deck at 97. What's the highest SAS rating of any deck?
I'll look that up while you carry on.
Okay, and Ecological, I'll say it's only 73. Now that's very interesting, because 73 is lower than I would expect to see as a low deck, never mind the highest deck of the team. But if that's what they're playing with, that's what they're having fun with, that's what matters. Moving on.
97 is the highest.
What's that? 97 is the highest, is it?
Yeah, there are 3 decks that are 97.
But looking down to see the Screech Bomb's artifact control, they've got 5.8 artifact control in their strongest deck. But the and Team Zazinic has 0 again on their strongest deck. So Team Zazinic have 0 artifact control. I'm
loving the cojones on that team of just coming in going, yeah, we don't care about artifacts. Heart of the Forest, Quicksilverstone, we don't care about the decks.
I just like the balls of that team for making me say Team Zazing each time, and won't abbreviate it a little.
It's alright, we'll make a team called Team She Sells Seashells by the Seashore.
That would be better than Team Zazing.
Yeah, but instead of S's, I'm going to use actual letter C's.
Oh, we'll see. So, moving on. The only other thing to pull out here is disruption, and Hamburg Lions 2 having such significant disruption. Especially compared to Manchester Mavericks A, because I would have thought Manchester Mavericks A would have had a higher disruption number. But
it depends on when the decks came out, because I think Manchester Maverick A is the one that's running Sasha and a lot of the other fast decks.
Yeah, that's true. So let's move on. Ratings the weakest deck. So the team with the strongest, weakest deck in their pool is Autocannons Italia. So what we are saying here is Autocannons Italian, of their 5 decks, 85 is the lowest SAS they have brought.
Explains why they're doing so well in their group.
Well, they are in our group as well. They are in the AP and Europe group, or Shadows.
Yes.
And the lowest one is PNW Power on 64. So that is interesting. Hypno Keyforge are the lowest ARC, but then they're creature heavy decks.
Yeah. And we can see that.
Nothing else that interesting with the rest of it. I think, given everything we've seen, that's pretty much the standard pattern.
Pretty much, yeah. We're basically seeing it quite high. I mean, strongest to the weakest, and the efficiency. No Kanka Fans in Austria UA1 with a 0.16 in efficiency. That's quite bad. Yeah, minus 1.6.
I want to see that deck because I don't see how a deck can be negatively efficient. But we'll have to wait and see.
So, for example, cards like Save the Pack, Arise, cards that give you chains without cards that let you draw.
No, that makes sense. Yeah, no, of course. So this is the slide that I find fascinating. So
my best deck is -1 speed.
So this sheet here is what we're showing you is the top 19 cards, most common cards, and then we're saying which team of all the decks, then which team has brought the most copies of that card across their decks. And I'm really upset that Repower haven't won the most E-Dies.
They were probably a close
managed
second.
for 8.
They were probably a close second, like 5 or 6, or 6 or 7.
Well, if they've got the 5 E-Die deck in, then they've got at least 5. But can't touch this. The Archers have 5 World Wormholes. It's a bit of a gamble. I'm not surprised Team Zazine has 7 Infernuses at all. I'm still surprised Infernus wasn't the most common card, I'll be frank. We're talking 6 Gateways to Dis over 5 decks. 7 Relentless Whispers, 7 Marks of Dis.
Oh, I hate Mark of Dis.
That's why it's so common.
6 Prefected Ludos.
Yeah,
5 Dust Pimps. 4 Runny Risklocks. I was expecting more Runny Risklocks.
Right. So
The 6 Tributes. The 6 Tributes caught me a little bit off guard there.
they've got 5 Red Eyes and 6 Tributes. That means they've got a lot of Logos dinosaur decks.
Yeah.
So,
Very
time for the
controlled.
Myths and Legends quiz. So, you ready with these, Brett?
Nope, because the polls have to be done one at a time.
But you've got. So, do you want me to do the first question while you get it ready?
Yeah, question please.
The question is: do you think someone is playing a Khalifi Dragon? The answer will
1
be
minute on
yes
the
or
poll.
no.
Pretty much what I put on that. Did someone say quiz? Oh, Mr. Conga's turned up just in time. The quiz kit's gone down. We were going to use the quiz kit again, but the quiz kit's gone down. So we're using the
Okay.
polls. Currently, it's 2 people saying yes, no one saying no. Oh, now someone said no. I wish I would love to see who's voting what.
So that's 4 votes so far, I believe. Oh, 5 votes. Let me know when the time's up.
We're getting there.
Sue knows 4 yes.
Do, 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 do,
Yeah, I feel like we
do,
need countdown music.
Hold on. Do, 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 do,
All 5 to
do,
3.
do, 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 do.
So the winner is 5. So the answer is, well, no. Let's stay
No.
serious. There are
That's a
no
damn
Khalifi
outrage.
Dragons anywhere in any deck.
That's it. We're scrapping KOTE. It's just going to be bring a Khalifi Dragon deck,
But then I can't
and every
play.
and then every stat will be how many Khalifi Dragons are in this. 300. Excellent.
But it is interesting to see that out of, what's it, 360 odd decks,
Yeah.
there are no
And no
Khalifi
Khalifi
Dragons.
Dragon. Oh, it makes me sad.
So 360 decks, I mean, multiply that by 36. I mean, I can't do 36 squared times 10 in my head, but or 6 to the 4, but yeah.
I will rectify this in KOTE. I will make sure that the Khalifi Dragon is represented.
Great. If someone brings a horseman deck, do you believe us?
I wasn't prepared. No. Yes. No.
lost
Yes.
breath.
Go. I personally not a fan of the Horsemen. I thought they were overhyped when they were selling for hundreds. I still think they're overhyped. And when I did some trades with Jupiter, he sent me Horseman decks, knowing I would be upset about it.
Oh. I've got 2 horseman decks. I traded for one because I didn't have one. Then the next deck I opened had a horseman deck, and I was like, oh well, it's not the end of the world.
I have a fairly decent Horseman deck which has 3 cleansing waves.
I have some dire horseman decks. but they're horseman decks, so they're in the collection.
Huh.
Oh yeah, that reminds me. I meant to say this earlier. While you're sorting that out, or are you ready? Or
not yet.
so
Two
what
people
Bristol
on yes or no.
I'm in the process of trying to get a complete set of cards. So I've got my Worlds Collide. Not quite finished going through my decks. Questions up now.
Three people voted yes, nobody voted no.
Okay, and so the answer is there is one horseman deck. I would love to know which Braves horseman deck that is. Can we see ourselves in Snag's mirror in this coat? So while Brett is, I'm trying to get a full Rimbinder set of one of every card in the game, or at least as close as I can. I'm only going to dismantle decks that are SAS 75 and lower, I think, or unless I particularly like a deck. But that's the. So if anyone else is doing this and needs a collection of cards or is missing a couple of uncommons, let me know. I'm going to have lots of. I have lots of duplicates.
Are you trying to get them like every single copy of every single card in one house, or just every single copy?
I'm trying to get every single card that's not a Maverick.
Ah.
I try to do it as possible here.
You can't get every card as a Maverick, but you can get some weird ones. I've got a Maverick Mars needs Amber, with in a deck that has. It's like, okay, this is pretty cool because there's no Mars in the deck, so.
I still think my what's it called?
Dismimicry?
Oh, no. What's the card you want off me?
Dismimicry.
Dismimicry.
Yes, you were meant to show me that list a while ago.
I haven't found it yet. It's somewhere in my collection.
So, results are in with 2 people saying yes and no one saying no.
Amusingly, there's 2 of them.
Woo! Snag's mirror can be quite powerful, especially if you open a mirror match.
I've locked someone out with Snag's mirror once. Didn't do it deliberately. I wish I did.
I prefer Snag and Snaglet to the mirror, but it can be quite interesting.
They're different cards. So, what about Toad? How many decks are there with Toad in?
Well, there's a team called Toad, so.
But there's also a player called Zazin, and there's a team called Zazin.
And the player isn't in the team. I know. It's so disappointing. I immediately pointed out that the players should be in the team. So,
what about Toad?
Nobody's voting because nobody cares about Toad. He's an underrated. He's an underrated member of the Brotherhood.
Well, he was just turned up and got an honorary seat, but yeah.
I think you don't know what I was referencing, but okay.
You're right. But I'm used to not knowing what you're referencing.
Do you know what happens to a toad that's struck by lightning? The same thing that happens to everything else.
It dies. So 3 people said yes. There was a
okay. Okay. Tomorrow, go watch the original X-Men movie.
Oh god, that's back when X-Men was good.
3 people said yes and 2 people said no for the Toad.
But there is one Toad.
One lonely Toad.
What about shards? How many shard decks are there? Or are there shard decks? Yes or no? So I found my Coach Crown I printed out, which we're not sure what we're going to do with yet.
Well, we'll find some. I mean, I've got some stuff coming that I want to do some stuff with. Oh. I mean,
so, are we ready for the show?
I've got Saurian train trackers for days. Look at that.
Why?
Because I like to fan myself with mediocrity.
So we got two people think there are shards decks, 2 think there are not.
Not yet, it's still going, but yes, Mr. Kong, there's only one Xenos Blood Shard that is going around, which is really weird. It's not as strong. It's not the strongest witch, but it's not the weakest witch.
What would you say is the weakest witch?
It is split down the middle at 2-2. Grovekeeper. I'd say Grovekeeper's probably the weakest witch.
Oh, don't say that. That will upset Andrew because I got that question wrong back in May, and I wrote the question. So immediately there were two charge decks.
Oh yeah,
so,
because you didn't know Grovekeeper was a witch.
I was tired. Okay.
Get on my
Narcs is
level,
great,
son.
Right?
Get on my
Are there
level.
any Narcs?
I'm going to confuse it by putting it the wrong way around this time. Referencing the Grovekeeper. Oh, and Mr. Kong responds with, "Lol, Bob-omb. But you've spelt it wrong. It's Bob-omb, not Bob-omb. The third B is not needed."
Right, have you got the results in?
No, there's like 25 seconds left.
My filler stuff is done. So
And we get. You spent a lot of time having fun with this. Right. Currently, it stands at 2 people saying no and no one saying yes.
Well, that will change swiftly, I'm sure.
Nope, it ended with 2 people saying no and no one saying yes.
So, and they were right. They were absolutely not.
Again, this is a travesty. Megan Narp is a beautiful creature who deserves respect.
And best of all here, I forgot to say Brett's changes, so I've got the original.
No, you.
So, as ever, this is from the Baguette Trip guys. Thanks to Corey, Nathan, or Nathan. Corey, Nathan, or Nathan, for doing Dexter Keyforge. Me and Brett, but we're not that important. And thanks to Baguette and Chips for putting all of this together. And finally, thank you for all of you for playing KOTE and playing Keyforge.
Without you, this would not be possible.
Completely.
And
So,
bye-bye, pause.
Let's go. So hopefully, yes, my transition worked.
Woo!
So, we have gone through the metrics, we have gone through the news, we have not bored 16 of you into leaving at least, which I think is mildly impressive.
There's still time. There's still time.
So, we've come to this week's features match. Now, who's the featured match this week, Brett? Because I have...
The featured match is Manchester Mavericks B versus Keyforge Granada. Both teams are very strong, former finalists and winners. And it just seems like a very strong game to be featured.
Yeah, and also both teams are awesome. I spent a lot of time talking to Jose, I think it's Jose, from Keyforge Granada. That's actually it's Jose, not Jose. And Manchester Mavericks, they're great guys as well. My niece has just moved up to Manchester, so I need to get her to get Fanboy 3 once your lockdown ends. But
If that lockdown ends,
it will end one day. You better bloody